between the finger, between your fingers. Okay, they call it as web finger. Okay, the purpose of that membrane is to guide the development of your fingers in a somewhat like a perfect straight, not perfect straight, but straight. Okay, but as the development already completes, that one should, the membrane here, have you noticed, gakadula? Because it was consumed by the lysosome. Okay, yes. Okay, without the lysosome, you will look like a duck. Okay, because there will be web here. But the good thing about it is, for sure you will become a very good swimmer. Okay, because there's no need for you to have the paddle. Okay, so I'll show you. This one. Yan. So most likely, this was not perfectly digested by the lysosome. The same thing with the tail of a crab. Diba? The tadpole, they still have tail, but as they grow older and reach maturity, the tail is gone because of the lysosome. So imagine if you don't have lysosome, most likely, okay, you will have a web-like here structure. Yan. We call it as a Somerset child's feet evolution. So maybe you don't need to have the, what do you call that? In scuba diving? Flippers. Because you have extra, to propel you and to move you faster. Yes. Yes. Genetic problem siguro. Or maybe during sa pregnancy, the mom was able to take something which is not good. So that's why if you're pregnant, if a woman is pregnant, okay, they should be careful in taking in medicine, because it might contain chemicals that would affect the development of the baby. Yes, Peter. Okay? Okay? So, vacuoles. Okay. So, the next organelle present in a eukaryotic cell is your vacuole. So, take note that when we are talking about eukaryotic cell, they have a membrane. So, you notice vacuole, lysosome, they have a membrane. So, each of them are separated with the other organelles. So their internal environment is not mixed up with the cytoplasm. Do you get my point? Okay. So vacuoles serve many functions including water regulation, support, and storage. So we will discuss one of each. Okay. Water regulation. Okay. So what is a vacuole? If a vacuole stores water, okay, that's a type of storage vacuole. Okay, basically it serves as warehouse of the cell. Because what's the function of the warehouse? Storage purposes. If you have business, for example, you don't have something to store on, so you're going to rent a warehouse where you can store your product safely. The vacuole serves as the warehouse of the cell. And the type of storage vacuole will depend on the material that they are storing. Do you get my point? Okay. Now, if the vacuole is storing water, we call it as water vacuole. If the vacuole is storing food, we call it as food vacuole. If the vacuole is for maintaining homeostasis, we call it as contractile vacuole. Do you get my point? Okay. Sige. Usually in plants, they have a bigger vacuole. We call it as central vacuole. Okay. We'll discuss that as we go along. What are the different types of vacuoles? Food vacuole, contractile vacuole, and central vacuole. Okay. Usually in plants, they have a very huge vacuole known as the central vacuole because it is situated at the center. You would know the plants is running out of water if the central vacuole is shrinking. And you would notice that the leaves would somewhat like, what do you call this? lose its hydrostatic support. Okay. Sige. Am I getting boring? Kaya pa? O sige. So what are the functions of vacuoles? Contractile vacuoles for freshwater organism facilitates the water balance in their body. Okay. This is very important. Nga man. Okay, what is the importance of contractile vacuole to fresh organism? Fresh water is hypotonic. Okay, dali lang. When we say hypotonic environment, if this is the cell, this is the cell, this is the plasma membrane, this is the entire white thing here is fresh water. Okay? So we submerge the cell in a freshwater environment. The freshwater environment is considered as hypotonic environment. Okay, so what is hypotonic environment? You have two areas here, area B, area A, area B. The environment outside of the cell, okay, is area A, water. The environment inside the cell, okay, is area B. So there is water plus solute. Area, water lang for example. Fresh water mo. Pure water for example. The tendency, if you place a cell in a hypotonic environment, since there are more water outside than inside, less water, the water will diffuse going inside the cell. So what do you think will happen? What will happen to the cell? Jitter? Malupok. Ngayon, it's just like you're inflating a balloon, and the plasma membrane, remember, it's fluid, it's soft, that if the hydrostatic pressure caused by water is too much, what will happen to the cell? It will explode. Okay? It will explode because of the accumulation of water. Now, the purpose of the contractile vacuole for freshwater fishes is once the water accumulates inside their body, the contractile vacuole will pump it to maintain the proper level or healthy level of water on their cell. If not, basically the cell will, the fish will die. Okay. Copy? Copy? O sige. Yes. Ginapump niya pag di ba nag-accumulate ng tubig? If the animal will allow the water to stay in their cells, it would result to death because the cell will explode. Now there are animals, we call it as adaptation, evolutionary adaptation of those animals wherein they develop a contractile vacuole wherein when the water is already many, they will pump it outside their body. Yes? Okay, because this is what will happen. Hypotonic environment, I'm talking about animal cell, Animal cell. Hypotonic, it will make the water rise or explode. So that's why they have a contractile vacuole to make it, to pump the excess water outside. Okay, I'll show you here on the next slide. So this is an amoeba in a freshwater environment. Look what will happen to the size. Okay, di ng dako. Okay, are mas dako. This is an indication that this amoeba already contains a lot of water inside their cell. Right? Now, this is the contractile vacuole filled with water. So once this organism senses that there's already excess amount of water, the contractile vacuole will contract. When it contracts, it will squeeze the excess water, and you know what happened to the size? What will happen to the size? It goes back into a normal size, and you can see that the contractile vacuole is already or it decreased in size. It's an indication that the water was pumped out. Yes, Louis?
In transfer located ang vacuole sa membrane.
Sa sulod sa cytoplasm. Cytoplasm.
Ina-squeeze niya pa.
Ina-squeeze niya pagwa.
Parang fun.
Yeah, one spot. Ayas? Nagagawa siya sa membrane. Gawa sa yes, yes. It should not stay inside. It should be expelled outside. Okay, plant cells have a central vacuole. Okay, what are the functions of the central vacuoles of plants? Of course, it involves water balance. Okay, you would know if the plant is healthy if the central vacuole is filled with water. Okay, sir, how come some plants, sir, they don't experience the the bursting of the cell? Why? Yes. What else? Nga hindi maglupok kaya ang plant cell if they accumulate sa water. Plant cell, di ba? Central vacuole, plasma membrane. Outside the plasma membrane, we have what we call cell wall, and this is rigid, tig-ah. So, if the water constantly pushing to the plasma membrane will not explode because there's additional layer of protection in the form of cell wall. Alright? So that's why the cell becomes turgid. Normal ang effect sa plants. If you go to the supermarket, what have you noticed is they will sprinkle the leaves of vegetables with water. Okay? So that it will look turgid, fresh. O ba, kaya gusto ko picture, hindi ko namin siya picture. Hindi palaya. Okay? That's the purpose of sprinkling it with water. So, when the water diffuses to the plant cell, it will make the plant cell, the leaves turgid because of this one. Because of the osmotic pressure that is applying to the cell wall of the plants. Do you get my point? Okay. Sige. What time are we going to end? 12:40. 12:40. Kung pa tayo natato? 10:40. Sige, I'll dismiss you early 5 minutes. Okay, so I hope I was able to discuss. We will continue. We still have a lot of slides to discuss. Yes?
Pwede ka ask ng bata.